The Monaco marina shimmered beneath the golden Mediterranean sun, its calm waters gently rocking the array of luxurious yachts moored along the docks. I stood quietly on a secluded pier, watching my family pose in front of what they believed was the yacht they had rented, an exclusive getaway meant only for the successful members of the Robertson clan. If they'd taken a moment to notice the name emblazoned on the hull, Alexandra's Dream, they might have pieced it together a bit sooner. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" My mother's voice sliced through the salty breeze, just as sharp and commanding as always. "This is a private dock." I smiled coolly, adjusting the silk Hermes scarf draped around my shoulders. "I'm aware." She didn't hesitate. "Security," she called, waving toward the marina staff. "We've got an intruder." A security guard, sharply dressed in a pristine uniform, approached with calm professionalism. "Is there an issue, Ms. Robertson?" he asked. "Yes," my mother snapped with satisfaction. "My daughter is trespassing. This area is restricted to the yacht's owner." "I understand," the guard said smoothly, "which is why I allowed her in." A visible crack formed in my mother's perfectly composed exterior. "What?" "Ms. Alexandra is the registered owner," he explained, addressing me by the name I'd chosen, the one associated with the shipping empire I'd built from scratch, while my family still insisted on calling me Sarah. "We've been expecting her." Silence followed, interrupted only by the rhythmic sound of waves lapping against the sleek yacht's side. My brother Michael froze mid-pose, his expensive sunglasses sliding down his nose. My sister Rachel's champagne flute hung suspended halfway to her mouth. "This is absurd," my mother muttered at last. "We booked this yacht through Elite Maritime Services." "You did," I agreed helpfully, "which happens to be my company, along with roughly 30 other high-end vessels stationed here." I rested my hand on the yacht's polished surface. "This one, though? It's my personal favorite." Rachel's voice trembled. "Your company?" Without a word, I retrieved the yacht's electronic key fob from my bag. A soft chime sounded as the gangway lights lit up, and the entire vessel powered on with a low, luxurious hum. Michael looked like he'd been slapped. That's impossible. You're nothing. Dad always said." "Dad said a lot of things," I interrupted flatly, cutting him off the way I always did, without checking whether he was right. Speaking of my father, he stood at the rear of the group, expression unreadable. It was he who had declared a decade ago that I was ruining my life by refusing to join the family's real estate empire. Back then, I'd chosen to start a small boat rental business instead. And now, here he was, about to see just how far that hobby had taken me. "But we made the reservation," my mother insisted, flustered. "Every week." "And every week, Elite Maritime confirmed your booking," I said smoothly. "A 7-day Mediterranean cruise aboard Alexandra's Dream. Though, if you'd done even the slightest bit of research, you might have noticed the CEO's name, Alexandra Robertson." My phone buzzed, a message from my port manager. "Everything ready for the reveal?" "Perfect timing," I replied. "Let's show them what success looks like." I stepped forward, raising my voice for everyone to hear. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Alexandra's Dream, or perhaps more accurately, my dream." Right on cue, the crew appeared on deck, polished, professional, and perfectly synchronized. "Welcome aboard, Miss Alexandra," they said in unison, ignoring the stunned expressions of my family completely. "The master suite has been prepared as requested," the chief steward announced. "Additional accommodations are also in place." My mother's eyes narrowed at the mention of the master suite, the one she had specifically demanded in her booking. "Now wait just a—" "No, Mother," I interrupted, my tone final. "You wait. You've made me wait 10 years. 10 years of being left out of family celebrations because I wasn't accomplished enough. 10 years of hearing you call my business a phase, a hobby. You told people I was still finding myself, while Rachel and Michael were busy building what you consider real careers." I swept my arm toward the marina surrounding us. "Take a look around. Every vessel bearing the Elite Maritime insignia? All part of my operation." I let that sink in before continuing. "The same shipping company that moves all the materials for your precious real estate projects?" "Mine." "The luxury charter service you used to book this very trip?" "Also mine." "Care to guess who's behind it?" Rachel was already tapping furiously on her phone, clearly trying to verify everything. Her expression shifted as the screen loaded. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Last estimate put us at around 4 billion, I said casually. Although with the new expansion into Asian markets, we're likely closing in on 6. Not bad for a so-called hobby, wouldn't you agree?" Michael stepped forward, adopting the polished tone he usually reserved for boardrooms. "Sarah, if we had known." "If you'd known what?" I cut him off. "Would you have invited me along? Made a spectacle of your newly successful sister? Claimed some part in what I've built?" "That's not fair," Mom said sharply. "We were trying to push you, to inspire you." "By shutting me out? By making me feel like I didn't belong?" I laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "Well, mission accomplished. I built something so successful, you ended up paying me, just for the privilege of stepping aboard my own yacht." Several of the crew members were doing their best to stifle their grins. They already knew this whole story, we'd gone over it during prep for the trip. "The deposit," my father said quietly, speaking for the first time. His voice sounded hollow. "How much did we pay?" 200,000 euros, I answered. "Non-refundable, of course. But I appreciate it. That'll more than cover the crew's bonuses for enduring this family circus." My phone buzzed again, this time with a headline alert. "Elite Maritime Services announces major expansion. Stock soars." I glanced up from the screen and held it out for them to see. "You may want to check your portfolios. Several analysts are urging people to buy our stock today. Too bad none of you invested back when it was still just my little project." My mother slumped onto the nearest bench, the cruise she'd planned so meticulously slipping through her fingers. "But where will we stay?" she asked faintly. "Oh, the trip is still happening," I said with a pleasant smile. "Just a few adjustments to the accommodations." I nodded at the chief steward, who began handing out newly printed cabin assignments with practiced efficiency. "Michael, you and Jessica will take the port guest room, the smaller one, near the engine room," the steward read. "Rachel, you and Thomas will be in the crew quarters on the starboard side. As for you, Mom and Dad, the forward cabin has been prepared. Cozy, efficient, very crew-like." Rachel let out a horrified gasp. "The crew quarters? But we reserved." "You reserved through my company, on my yacht," I reminded her evenly. "And as the owner, I've made a few changes. The master suite, naturally, belongs to me." "This is unacceptable," Mom said, rising to her feet. "We'll find another yacht." "In Monaco?" I raised an eyebrow. "During high season?" I let that hang in the air for a moment, then added, "You're welcome to try. But Elite Maritime handles the majority of high-end charters in this marina. And even if you do find someone independent, well, your deposit's still gone." Another buzz from my phone. This time, it was from my marina manager. "Paparazzi arriving in 10 minutes for the Elite Maritime press event. Want them to see the family meltdown?" "Perfect timing," I replied. "Make sure they get my best angle." I looked up at my stunned relatives. "You have two choices," I said, voice calm but firm. "You can stay, enjoy a beautiful Mediterranean cruise, though not in the luxury you imagined. Or you can leave, lose your deposit and try to explain to your society friends why you're not posting photos from your glamorous vacation." The only sound for a long moment was the quiet clinking of rigging against nearby masts. "You're actually enjoying this," Michael said, his voice accusatory. "Watching us squirm. Watching your so-called unsuccessful sister turn out to be the very person you're all dying to impress." I met his gaze and smiled. "Yes. I really, really am." Dad took a step closer, something new flickering in his eyes, something that looked a lot like respect. "You built all this on your own?" "No," I said quietly. "I built it without your help. And guess what? I didn't need the family business to make it happen. I only ever needed one thing from them, doubt. Just enough of it to keep me invisible while I built something untouchable." The sound of camera shutters shattered the silence. Photographers were swarming the dock, lenses pointed straight at Alexandra's dream, Elite Maritime's crown jewel, and the dramatic family encounter unfolding on board. "Say cheese," I said, casting a glance over my shoulder. "These shots will be all over the financial headlines by morning." Elite Maritime's Alexandra Robertson welcomes relatives aboard private yacht, a touching tale of family reconciliation. Charming, isn't it? Mom's complexion drained from furious crimson to ghostly pale. She understood now. This wasn't just a personal ambush, it was a PR masterstroke. She could either cooperate and save face or turn the story into a public relations disaster. "What do you want from us?" she asked, her voice suddenly subdued. "Want?" I laughed, not unkindly. "I already have what I want. A global company. A world-class yacht. And the satisfaction of watching all of you slowly realize that the person you dismissed for years is the one steering the ship. Literally and figuratively." My phone vibrated again, texts rolling in. Extended relatives piecing together the revelation. Industry contacts connecting the dots. Opportunists pivoting to align with the real power center. "The media's going to want happy family pictures," I added, checking the time. "I suggest you all change into something more fitting for a day at sea. Your cabins have outfits laid out, Elite Maritime branded, naturally. Can't miss a branding opportunity." Rachel stared down at her high-fashion sundress as if it had betrayed her. "Branded clothing," she echoed in disbelief. "Standard crew attire," I confirmed with an innocent smile. "Since you'll be staying in the crew's quarters, I thought consistency was key." The chief steward stepped up, clipboard in hand. "Would you like me to show your guests to their rooms, Miss Alexandra?" "Please do," I replied. "And remind them about the uniform policy. I'd hate for them to feel out of place." One by one, my family was escorted aboard, faces stiff, pride unraveling with every step. As they disappeared into the yacht's interior, I turned to the waiting cameras. Alexandra Robertson, CEO of Elite Maritime Services, personally welcoming her family aboard her luxury vessel. The headlines would practically write themselves. My phone buzzed once more, this time a message from my head of PR. "Stock up 15% after expansion news. Want us to include the family element in the release?" My fingers danced across the screen. "Absolutely. Emphasize the self-made success angle. Make sure they know I started with a small boat rental side hustle. They say success is the best revenge. But success paired with theatrical timing and a spotlight? That's something rarer. That's legacy." As for my family, they got exactly what they asked for, a luxury yachting experience. They just didn't clarify which role they expected to play. Welcome aboard Alexandra's Dream, where your crew uniforms await neatly folded in your modest quarters. Because, really, every triumphant tale needs a humble origin. And nothing screams humble quite like crew cabins on a vessel you assumed you were important enough to command. The Mediterranean sun bounced off the yacht's polished surface as photographers angled for the best shot. A flawless Monaco morning, at least for one of us. I turned to the captain, raising my voice just enough for my family and the press to hear. "Captain, shall we begin our journey? I believe my guests are eager to start their experience." The anchor lifted, and with it, the last illusions my family clung to, that they still held some measure of power in my world. Because sometimes, success isn't just about profit margins. Sometimes, it's about proving a point. And what better way to do it than turning your family-only luxury cruise into a masterclass in irony? Welcome to my domain, dear family. Crew meeting starts at dawn. Don't be late. The boss doesn't tolerate tardiness.